We've got a series of spring previews coming up. We'll take a look at Tennessee's quarterbacks now. Obviously, Nico Iamaleava is the topic of conversation. This has to be a big spring for Nico. Nico has got to have a monstrous spring, but I'm also curious as to who his backup will be, Caleb, because that is very much in question, given the fact that Jake Merklinger didn't start in front of Gaston Moore last year or play in front of Gaston Moore last year.
Yeah, I think that as we talk about Tennessee quarterbacks in spring practice, Nico Iamaleava is obviously the starter. I actually think it'd be shocking if George McIntyre doesn't take that second spot above Jake Merklinger. I think it'd be shocking.
Wow. So does that mean Merklinger's out? Does he see the writing on the wall in the summer, or does Josh Heupel try to hide it from him?
Oh, he sees the writing on the wall. And I don't think Josh Heupel would hide it from him. I mean, Taven Jackson saw the writing on the wall and hit the portal. Taven Jackson, Nico Iamaleava arrived in the winter of 2022. And like within 2 weeks after he was practicing, Taven Jackson bolted for the portal. So Taven Jackson's not a bad quarterback. So I think Merklinger sees the writing on the wall. I think Merklinger is that type of quarterback. You're a fringe 4-star. You could be good. You go commit to play for a coach like Josh Heupel because of what he does with quarterbacks. And you say, maybe I can beat out somebody and maybe I could become the starter and I have a great chance to thrive. And then if it doesn't work out, you can go hit the portal and go find another school. I think some quarterbacks are willing to take that chance to go to, by the way, this would never have been the case back in the day before the transfer portal, right? Where you're willing to take the chance to be yeah. But now you can take that chance, and if it doesn't work, you can go hit the portal and go to another school that'll take you. And I don't think it's as big of a deal anymore.
Okay, so that brings me to my next question, and that is, do you trust Josh Heupel to make the right decision on quarterbacks? Because I've questioned his decision-making on Hooker and Milton, and then Milton and Nico. So we'll discuss that, brought to you by Double D Piping.
Double D Piping provides full-service fire protection on any scale. From residential homes to government facilities, we can assist any customer through design, fabrication, installation, inspection, and demonstration of fire suppression systems. With 30 years of service across 5 states and a full staff with over 40 years experience, our quality can't be beaten. Don't get caught watching what you could have prevented. Call Double D Piping.
All right, I want to make it a poll question. Do you trust Josh Heupel's decisions on quarterbacks? Because I don't. I'm going to be real frank with you. I don't. And if he runs McIntyre or runs Merklinger, would it stun me if one of those guys has a fantastic career elsewhere? No, it wouldn't. Because what I've seen from Josh Heupel is the decision to play Joe Milton over Hendon Hooker, and then a decision to play Milton over Nico, which we can debate about that, but I wouldn't have done. So as we preview the quarterbacks heading into spring, do you trust Josh Heupel's decision-making process when it comes to signal callers?
Yes, because Josh Heupel's much more objective when it's just his guys. And I can't believe I'm saying this, but the problem with Hendon Hooker from the start was Josh Heupel.
Okay, that's good stuff. I just had to stop you. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, look, the whole thing with Joe Milton and Hendon Hooker, Heupel, I'm going to tell you guys something that I think happened with Josh Heupel and Hendon Hooker and Joe Milton. I think Josh Heupel went after Joe Milton from the moment he set foot on campus at Tennessee before he realized what quarterbacks he had, before he knew who he had at quarterback.
Well, no, I can confirm that's the case.
Yeah. And so he went hard after him. If you remember, it was almost like a too close of a situation. Joe Milton wasn't able to practice in the spring, but during the spring game, Joe Milton was there standing next to Heupel the whole time. And it almost looked like he was like coach's pet. Like, this is my guy. You know what I mean? It felt like an Ed Orgeron, Brent Schaefer moment. And so I felt with all that in mind, Josh Heupel made such a public spectacle of signing Joe Milton that to save face his first year as head coach of Tennessee, he felt he would look real bad if he didn't name Joe Milton the starter at the beginning of 2021, because then everybody would be like, well, you went all in on this guy and you can't even name him the starter. But you look back and I mean, that was a disastrous, catastrophic decision. And not long term. He moved to Milton-Hooker, but I think what was so bad about it, Dave, was that I don't think there was ever a real competition between Milton and Hooker. I don't. And I know some people say it may have been 55-45. No, I think I'm just going to tell you up front from some things I've heard. I think it was 80-20 Hendon-Hooker, and he still went with Joe Milton.
Yeah, and it's funny how you mentioned that as far as the first team snaps, because you can completely orchestrate a quarterback competition or lack thereof if you want to, just by practice snaps. If you give one guy 90% and the other guy 10%, the guy with 90% is going to have more touchdown passes. He may have more interceptions too, but it's easy to, like, we'll talk about spring practice and we'll get into it. And this is our spring preview of the quarterbacks, and we'll have running backs tomorrow. But the thing you have to remember is that spring is all about just dudes running around, getting better. And it's not going to be about, as far as the depth chart, it's not going to be about anything in terms of scheme. Caleb, that's kind of where you are in spring.
Yeah, no, exactly. You're just trying to help guys get in like football shape and rhythm and see what you can work with. And maybe some guys learn the system. But yeah, since the whole Joe Milton thing, see, we can debate 2023. I don't mind it as much as you did, keeping Joe Milton the starter in 2023. I think he's handled quarterbacks well since then. I think it was just his arrogance and his determination to be right outweighed what was good for the team in 2021. And he won't have that issue now.
Okay. It's interesting, like a clean slate. What did Adam say in the text box?
Maybe Merck will be Tennessee Stetson Bennett. Adam, there's one flaw in that. And you give a lot of great points, Adam. So I'm not knocking you here, but where I disagree is that Stetson Bennett was kind of like T. Martin. Good leader, good quarterback, but managed a loaded amount of talent around him.
Okay.
And
but
look, I'm just saying, like,
way more talented.
Huh?
I think T. Martin was way more talented than Stetson Bennett.
No, but what I mean is, like, they were both like, they both did a great job handling and using the talent around them, leaning on it. The quarterback, and Dave, I think you'll agree with me on this. At Tennessee, the quarterback's not there to lean on the talent. They're there to grab the talent and to carry the talent on their back, right? And it's a bit of a difference.
No, you would think. And latest mention in the text box, what do we got?
I trust Hype, but he is a bit too loyal at times.
What was the poster's name?
I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to say that name.
I don't know what that name means. What does that mean? Is that a bad name?
Tethalta 1. I'm not going to say
Tethalta. Not like you were about to say it the first time. Hit like and subscribe if you find Caleb's uncomfortable nature.
What do you? Okay.
Yeah, it started with TIT, so Caleb just went crazy.
Crazy.
All right, so getting back to our message board, one last thing from Derek, and just live or die with it, feel the same way about the offense since Hendon left. Is this offense going to ever be as great as it was in 2022? And does it have to be for Josh Heupel to have success?
No, it does not, but yes, it will.
No, it does not. Yes,
it does not have to be as great as it was in 2022 for him to have success, but it will be as great as it was in 2022. I think the thing that we need to give Josh Heupel more credit for was one of the things he did last year is there were so many teams played that soft man, that 3-3-5, and Josh Heupel finally said, "You guys want that? I will run it, and you won't stop me." And keep running that 3-3-5.
A lot of times, Caleb and I, at our 3:45 a.m. production meeting, we don't discuss these things. So it's interesting that he and I completely agree. I thought that Josh Heupel's offensive approach last year was as good as 2022.
I agree. 2022, it was more impressive, honestly. 2022 was a system that he had run that a lot of people hadn't figured out, and he had a great quarterback to run it, a veteran quarterback, a sixth year senior playing on it. So, no, last year was actually more impressive, as good as we think Nico is. I think last year reset the clock, so you're going to see teams, put it this way. I think because of the hype behind Nico and Heupel's offense, you had teams sell out to make sure Nico didn't beat them deep this past year. I think now he's kind of fallen off in his resume, and I think in his reputation, and you're going to see a lot more teams cheat up in the box next year. So I think there's going to be a lot more deep balls for Nico to hit on next year.